Yeah, morning everyone. Thank you for coming along to see us this morning. Should we get going? Sorry, rather than keep these good people waiting. So
Sure.
Yeah, okay. I think so. What you've got in front of you is a slide just showing some of the team at Phlo Systems and looking across tradePhlo very much as well. So Saurabh obviously will be the presenter today. I'm Neil. Nice to meet you all. And then we've got some very qualified colleagues with us on the call as well, which just good to put a face to a name sometimes. If you can pop on to the next slide, Saurabh, thanks. So thank you all very much for taking the time out to attend today. It's kind of nice to meet you all, such that it is. I'm Neil. I'm the account lead on tradePhlo, which is a solution which is offered by Phlo Systems. So as you've probably gathered, this is a Phlo Systems presentation today. We're a company focused on revolutionising trade internationally, also finance and customs management generally. So it's something which we've got a decent history as a business working on, and it's something which we want to continue evolving as we move forward. In simple terms, we're a software house. We've got around 50 colleagues who build trade solutions for international clients of all sizes and all shapes and all domains. In simple terms, we've got three offerings. OpsFlow, it's a new age ERP and CTRM solution. This can be connected to all of the main supply chain partners. So it's something which we've got some tremendous traction in with trading across the globe. We have FinFlow, which is a trade finance ERP solution, and that streamlines the day-to-day operations for non-bank trade finance funds. And we've got a suite of partners that we work with on that. My focus is very much on tradePhlo. So tradePhlo is a cloud-based solution which simplifies international customs clearance and inventory management and provides businesses with absolute control over their trade operations. The platform's range of solutions makes it easier, cheaper, faster for international traders to manage their customs requirements. tradePhlo also offers a range of services to our clients directly. We can support them as a broker. We can support our broker clients in making their processes more streamlined and more effective. And also with end user clients, we can offer systems and solutions so you can take your customs management in-house. Looking at the webinar today, the AI revolution in trade, we're looking at how it's transforming customs with the use of smart technology. In this session, we'll take you through some of the evolution of the use of AI, all of which is firmly embedded in all of our products and solutions. Your presenter today, as you've seen from the image, but also from the slide previously, is Saurabh Goyal. He's a founder of Phlo Systems and an early adopter of AI when building trade solutions. And on the slide that you're looking at now, you can see the route that today's presentation is likely to take. He'll be very happy to host a live Q&A session at the end of the presentation. But can I ask you to pop any questions, comments or thoughts you may have into the chat box, and they'll be referred to later on. So hopefully that's okay and that's clear, giving you a bit of a position as to who we are and what we do. Many thanks to you all. And Saurabh, if you're ready, it's over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. Thanks. So before we start, I would like to say that I'm not an AI expert, though we have been using AI almost for the last 10 years in several use cases, which include supply chain management, commodity trading, trade finance, and of course, customs compliance. So you can call me as a practitioner, and also Phlo Systems as an avid user of AI in all their applications. So yes, we may have a good understanding of how AI can be used. And that is what we are aiming to present to you today. And hopefully we all will learn from this exercise. So AI is a very big field. So when we speak about AI in this session, we are not talking about generic AI. We are talking about a very specific class of AI, which is LLMs, which stands for large language models. And there are several flavors of large language models. And within those, also, we are looking at a very specific kind of a large language model, which is called GPT. It stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer Model. This is something which is relatively new. It was explained in a paper which is called attention is all you need. And this paper was published only in June 2017. But since then, LLMs and GPTs have made a huge amount of progress. And there are several flavors of GPTs available in the market today, but the ones which we are focusing on right now is OpenAI, which is the model behind ChatGPT, which I'm sure all of you must have used by now. So GPT is a very specific type of a large language model, which rather than focusing on the structure of the language and the grammar, it focuses on keywords and how these words are related to each other and what is the context in which those words are used. And therefore, uh, it is able to determine in which context you are asking the question and give you a more suitable answer. Uh, the large language models and GPTs have been around for 5 or 6 years now. And why is it becoming important now to pay even more attention to them? The reason is that they're fast reaching the peak stage. Uh, and they are now at a stage where it makes tremendous sense to start using them. And an example of that would be there's a specific body of question and answer. It is called GPQA. This body of questions has been designed specifically to assess the intelligence of large language models. And the questions which these GPQA has is not generic questions which can be answered through a Google search. These are very complex questions designed on complicated fields of knowledge. For example, they may have questions on molecular biology, they may have questions on astrophysics, etc., etc. And therefore, only an expert can reasonably answer them. What has been seen is that GPTs have been making a great progress on answering these type of questions. And these days, the latest model of OpenAI, which is I think GPT-4o, that is almost approaching the PhD level of expertise. So, for example, if you ask a molecular biology question to to an expert who has done a PhD in that specific subject, ChatGPT is able to answer uh, correct, correctly to the same extent as a PhD in that level. So now it makes absolute sense to start using these models. And the next model, which would be GPT-5, is expected to exceed even a domain expert in terms of the answers they would be giving. A caveat would be that GPT-5 probably would be the peak of such models, and we are not expected to see any further improvement because the basis on which these models are learning, which is all the information available in a language format and on open internet, there's only finite amount of information available. And by GPT-5, it is expected that the number of parameters used in these models and the amount of data used to train to these models would have also been exhausted by and large. And therefore, any significant improvement is not really expected. So yes, long answer to the question that GPTs are approaching the peak of their capabilities, and therefore now is the right time to start using them in your day-to-day operations because there's no point in waiting any longer because they are not going to get any significantly better from now onwards. So why is customs compliance a good area for GPT usage? So as I said that these are trained on language and content, and the more content available, the better it is for GPTs to use in that area. And as we know that customs compliance and customs in general has a lot of content available. If you look at just the UK scenario on HMRC, you will find a lot of information about uh, the customs procedures and the different tariffs used in UK. And I'm sure the same is the situation in other countries. Every time a new rule or regulation is proposed, there are a lot of consultations which are done with with the public, with the practitioners. So all that consultation information is available on the net. Once the rules are proposed, the interpretation of those rules are available, not just by expert, but by all sort of people. Sometimes there are legal cases, and traders would appeal against a certain rule making, and all the court transcripts are available on the net. So there's a rich body of knowledge which is available about customs on the open internet, and therefore it is quite reasonable to expect that GPTs have been well trained on that rich body of knowledge, and therefore a reasonable amount of accurate and reliable information can be expected from these GPTs. So now the question arises that yes, if LLMs are reaching a stage of maturity where it makes sense to use them, and customs is an area where it specifically makes a sense to use them, then what kind of use cases we should be using GPTs and LLMs for? Before we can answer that question, I would say that uh, everyone should take time in interacting with GPT so that we understand what are their capabilities, and only then we should go into taking shots at what kind of use cases we should now start using them. So before we move further into the kind of use cases, I would like to just take you through a simple case study of what kind of interaction one can have with these LLMs. And the case study I have taken, or the example I have taken, is specifically about HS code classification, because in general, that is supposed to be quite a complicated task, and uh, the internet is full of if you do a Google search, experts telling you why you should not be using GPTs to do HS classification, and why it is a very nuanced and a very specialized task which should be done only by human beings and expert in that field. So I have deliberately taken that example to see, let's see what kind of answers LLMs give. So on your screen, you can see that the question which I have asked is, what is the UK tariff HS code for fried banana chips? And the immediate answer which GPT gave is some classification which is incorrect. So yes, at the very first instance, when you look at the answer, you think that yeah, GPTs are not good enough, but that is not the reason to give up on them. And the way one should look at these LLMs is that they are almost like uh, an intern. So if you have hired a fresh intern in your organization, and that intern is a very capable intern, they have good qualification, they are bright, but they may not know anything about customs to start with. And if they give you a wrong answer, you don't give up on them. You train them, you guide them, you mentor them, and then you see how they pick up. So that's what we will try to do now. Obviously, the first answer given by ChatGPT is incorrect. So what we are doing now is that, but there's something to be learned from that answer. So that if you see they're saying for more detailed information, you need to visit UK trade tariff website. So we know that ChatGPT is aware of this website, and therefore the next question we will ask is, uh, find the tariff code in an interactive manner. So rather than just giving me an answer, let's go in a step-by-step fashion. First, show me all the sections uh, in the tariff code, and ask me which one of these specific sections should we proceed with, and then show me the subsections, and then we will proceed further. So I'm asking ChatGPT to take me through a step-by-step process rather than just giving me an answer. And it is very good at that. So immediately it tells me that yes, there are 21 different sections in UK tariff code. Here are these sections. Please select which section you would like to proceed with. What I have done is that I have deliberately selected the wrong section. So I've selected section 1, which is stands for live animal products, which definitely is not the case for fried banana chips. And ChatGPT is smart enough to tell me that it is probably not the right category, and you may want to select prepaid foodstuffs, which is number 4, which is the right category. So yes, so I do that. This time I select the right category, which is number 4, prepaid foodstuffs. And ChatGPT responds saying that yes, this is a good choice, and these are the subsequent headings or chapters under section 4. And it also suggests that we should select number 20, which is preparation of vegetables, fruit, nuts, and other parts of the plant. So I proceed with that, and then it gives me the subheadings under that chapter. And it also suggests that looking at the subheadings description, uh, 2008.99 should be the right category, because banana is not covered into any other previous subheadings. So which I believe would be the right HS code. And even if I would have been trying to do this on my own, going to the UK tariff site, I would have come with the same ultimate answer. So yeah, so this is an example of initially ChatGPT giving you a wrong answer, but you prompting the ChatGPT into giving you, taking you in a step-by-step process, and then eventually you realize that it gives you the right answer. So this is one way in which you can train or prompt LLMs into hopefully giving you the right answers. Uh, Encouraged by the previous example, I tried to stake up what LLMs can do. And this time I have posed a question in such a manner where I'm not even telling ChatGPT what is the initial commodity for which I need the code. I'm just trying to play a game where I'm saying that I'm thinking of a commodity, and can you ask me questions in such a manner where you can ultimately uh, give me what is the commodity I'm thinking, and also give me the right HS code for that commodity. So this is quite a big step from the previous example, where we are specifically telling ChatGPT that give me the HS code for fried banana chips. In this use case, we are not even telling ChatGPT. We are just thinking about a commodity and asking ChatGPT to ask simple layman questions and ultimately figure out what I'm thinking, and also give me the HS code. And let's see how it does for this kind of a interactive session. So the first question it asks me now, and the reason it is asking me this question is not in vacuum. The reason it is asking me this question is because it has learned from my previous interaction. So my previous interaction was about banana chips, which is about food items, and therefore the question that is the commodity you are thinking of is a food item or a non-food item. And just between, us, the commodity I'm thinking of is actually because I was sitting in my living room and I had the TV remote control in my hand. So the commodity I'm thinking about is a TV remote control. So obviously I give the answer that it is a non-food item. And then it is asking me the next set of question, which is the commodity you're thinking of is a natural material, wood or metal, manufactured product, or electronics or clothing. And the answer I'm giving is a manufactured product. Now, the important thing to look at these questions is that in these questions, ChatGPT is not asking me in the context of what is the chapters and headings and subheadings. It is asking me questions as if it is asking a common layman. And the reason it is asking me those questions is that probably the training which OpenAI has given to the model is fine-tuned more towards asking layman kind of questions rather than very specific expert kind of questions. And we will come to that. I mean, if you want ChatGPT to ask you a more expert kind of a question, there are ways of doing it. But right now, it is asking me very layman kind of questions. So it has asked me whether it is a manufactured product. I said yes. Now it is asking me whether it is used in consumer goods or industrial application. I'm saying consumer goods. The next question it is asking me whether it is electronics or household items. I say household items. Is it found in the kitchen? I say no. Is it found in the living room? I say yes. Is it used for furniture or decoration? Neither. Is it an electronic device? Yes. Is it a device used for entertainment? Yes. Is the device a television? So I could have given it a yes or no answer, but I decided to give it a more human-like answer if you would have playing this game with another human. So rather than saying yes or no, I'm saying that it is related. It is not necessarily a television. And then it is able to finally guess the right answer. It is asking, is this electronic device a remote control? I'm saying yes. And then yes. So yes, it is a remote control. Now let me identify the HS code. Based on your description, the HS code for remote control should be this. Uh, and again, I have kind of independently verified this, and this is supposedly the right code. So yes, this is an example of a game where I have not even given the system a commodity. I have just thought about it, and the system is smart enough to guide me through a sequence of questions and answers and finally give me the right commodity code. This is actually a great example because a commodity code is actually a question about classification, and all kind of classifications arise from binary classification. So you can take the entire world, you can divide it into two parts, and then you keep dividing into smaller sections until you arrive at the right answer. So ChatGPT is at the end of the day a kind of a classification tool where it classifies all the language, all the words into different categories and tries to arrive at the right answer. So it is a good representation of the kind of work which you can do with ChatGPT. So what have we learned from this small case study? The first thing we learned is that LLMs hallucinate. By hallucinate, I mean that if you ask them a simple question, they will always give you a simple answer. And they will give you that simple answer in a very confident manner, saying that this is the right answer. But that is usually not the case, as we saw in our initial, the very first question where we asked about the HS classification of banana chips, and it very confidently gave a wrong answer. So yes, it does hallucinate. But what we also learned is that the hallucination can be contained by better prompting techniques. And the prompting technique which we followed in our case study is called chain of thought, where you do not accept the first answer. You ask the LLMs to take you through a step-by-step process of how they come up with that answer. And in that step-by-step process, you guide and you prompt them in the right direction. So that is one way of prompting. And these days, prompting techniques and how to become a prompt engineer is supposedly the hottest skill you can gain. And there are several prompting techniques, and hopefully in subsequent sessions, we will cover some of these prompting techniques if you guys are interested in that. Also, just to let you know that this is not a one-off webinar. We will be trying to do this as a series, probably once every month. And if you have any specific questions, if you want me to cover any specific topics, please feel free to send me an email and we'll try to cover that in our subsequent sessions. The other thing which we learned in this exercise is that if the data and the text is available on the open internet, then it is very likely that ChatGPT has already absorbed that and it is already within its knowledge base. For customs, that is a great thing because most of the customs related information is available publicly. For example, in UK, it is available on the HMRC website and on some other uh, private websites, which you can still access publicly. So yes, customs is a good use case, but any information, if it is available publicly, it should have been observed by ChatGPT. Usually they train these large language models in batches. So information which is available today may not be available on ChatGPT, but maybe in 3 months' time it would be available. Uh, so yeah, you don't have to train it additionally. I mean, in when it comes to UK customs, I don't think there's any additional information you can provide to ChatGPT which might be useful at this stage. It probably already has most of the information you need. Uh, Finally, we learned that LLMs are just tools like any other software or information tool, but with a very important difference. The difference is that unlike other tools, LLMs can be trained. So just like an intern or a new employee in your organization can be trained, you can also train LLM into thinking like you, into understanding your context, and to start giving you answers in that context. And the amount of training you can provide to these tools or LLMs is only limited by your patience. So just like, I mean, getting work done out of an intern is requires a lot of patience. You may realize that rather than training an intern, you can do that job yourself in much lesser time. But if you start investing in training of your interns, then eventually you will see the output. So it's the same case over here. If you're patient enough to train the LLMs and GPTs, then you will start seeing the output. So now that we have some understanding of what kind of interaction you can have with GPTs, we can start thinking about what kind of use cases in customs domain one can write. Uh, and I fully understand that just a simple case study is not sufficient to come up with all kind of use cases. So we are also drawing from our experience from other case studies which we have done in the past. Uh, but happy to answer your questions specifically in subsequent sessions or one-on-one if you want to know more about this. But some of these case studies are mentioned over here, and we are quite confident that all of them are today possible through GPTs. So for example, the first one which we did along with you, which is batches classification, what we did was an interactive thing where we provided one use case and we got a classification of it. But you can also do bulk batch kind of classification where you can have hundreds of thousands of goods in an Excel sheet. You can provide that Excel sheet to the GPTs and you can get the classification done in batch. Obviously, this is a slightly different use case and the prompting required and the information which you have to provide as a backup knowledge to GPTs would be slightly different in that case. If you're a declarant and you want to prepare a full customs declaration, what you can do is that you can upload all your relevant documents, which is your packing list, your bill of lading, your invoices into ChatGPT or for that matter, any other similar LLM. And you can also provide an output. For example, in UK, there's an output which is quite popular, which is called the C88 or the SAD. So you can give that output format and you can say, use all the documents which I have uploaded and prepare a customs declaration in the SAD format for me, which it will do very well. And it will also give you a link from where you can download that in an Excel sheet or in a PDF format. And we in our organization apply that use case quite frequently, so we know it works. There are some cases where it may not have the information. For example, it may not know the EORI number of the declarant, which is not present in any of those documents. So you may have to provide it some master data separately to prepare the full declaration, but it's very much possible. If you're a customs broker and you receive a lot of email requests from your customers asking you to do declarations and you're drowning in those emails and allocating those emails to your operators and making sure that they are doing declarations correctly and then informing back to the customer that your declaration has been done and this is your clearance and all that. You can automate your end-to-end workflow process using LLMs and a mix of course, some software engineering. And that is a use case which we are working on quite actively, and we would be launching something on similar lines on our tradePhlo platform later this year. If you are a shipper and a manufacturer, you can ask GPTs to go through your bill of material in your ERP system, then scan the web for all the suppliers of those material and flag, say, any part which is supplied by a restricted entity. So this is something which may be useful for a large corporate having internal compliance where they do not want to buy anything from a restricted entity. Uh, if you're a customs authority and you want to use LLMs, you can, for example, give an actual import declaration to it as an input. You can ask the LLM to match the goods information on that declaration with publicly available information about that goods, and then see whether any item has been deliberately misclassified in order to save on, say, import duty. So these are some of the use cases which we believe today are possible using a mix of the state of art on the GPT, as well as a little bit of software engineering and internal knowledge management on your side. But these are definitely possible use cases. And if you or anyone is interested in exploring these use cases further, please feel free to reach out to us. And of course, this is just a representation of a few use cases which are possible. There's a whole list of ideas one can look into. In order to make those GPTs work for you, what the case study which we did along with you was a very simple thing where we just use a publicly available interface of ChatGPT to interactively come up with the right HS code. Now, using uh, LLMs in an interactive manner might be very slow. I mean, if you're doing a classification for one commodity, that is great. But if you want to do classification for thousands of commodities within a few minutes, that would be a painfully slow exercise. So how can you optimize GPTs to work for you? So there are basically two dimensions in which you can do that. Uh, the first dimension, which is easier, is providing more context. So you can provide more context about your specific organization, about yourself, the way you do business, uh, to ChatGPT or the LLMs. That is one dimension in which you can make them more effective. The second dimension in which you can make them more effective is slightly more complicated, but you can take the base model. So you can take the OpenAI model and you can fine tune it further by providing it contextual data from your domain. Uh, So this is not about providing more context. This is about uh, fine-tuning the variables within the model based on your specific context, where you are telling the model that, yes, you have learned yourself on all the publicly available information, and therefore there are certain levers within your engine which you use to answer the questions. Now I want you to reset those levers by learning about my domain, my data, and then becoming something which is more unique to me. So these are the two dimensions in which you can fine tune the system. And we are quite happy to do subsequent sessions, as I said, going deeper into these dimensions and how you can use it. Uh, just a bit more about these dimensions. So prompt engineering, which we saw some of it in today's session, is the lowest hanging fruit, and it is also the most effective in terms of coverage. So in our opinion, if you look at all the use cases in the customs domain, I think 75% of those use cases can be solved through purely prompt engineering. You don't have to do anything extraordinary. As long as you can provide the right prompts and the right guidance to publicly available GPTs, 75% of your use cases can be realized through simple prompt engineering. If you need more than that, if you need your master data to be aggregated into the kind of information you're getting back from these LLMs, if you want your internal knowledge, which you have built over a number of years, to be incorporated into the answers, then you will have to go towards what is called as a RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation, which we'll be talking more about in the subsequent sessions. But yeah, I mean, if there's a takeaway from today's session, I would say that 75% or even more of the kind of work which you want to do can be done through simple prompt engineering. You don't need anything fancy over there. LLMs and GPTs are invaluable tools now for knowledge workers, and you cannot not use them. Not using them would be like saying that I would not use internet or I would not use Google to supplement the kind of work which I'm doing today. So yeah, I don't think there'll be any choice going forward, and every one of us who is involved in knowledge-based work will have to use these kind of tools. To use prompting effectively, knowledge workers should develop an intuitive understanding of GPT. So this field of prompting, interacting with AI and getting the right information is a evolving field. And going forward, the number one skill which knowledge workers like you and I should have is how to interact with these AIs. And interacting with AIs uh, can come in two ways. I mean, number one, if you go deeper into the models and understand how these models work, then you can start thinking like how an AI is thinking, and maybe you can ask questions in the right manner. But that is a difficult exercise. Not all of us would have the right technology background to look into the models and understand what they're doing. So then the other way of understanding or intuitively thinking about uh, how AIs work is to spend more time with it. So yes, the more you use tools like ChatGPT, the more you interact with it, and the more novel ways you interact with it, the better understanding you will have. And then over a period of time, you will start thinking, and you will get an equilibrium where you know that these are the type of questions that work for me. These are the kind of prompts that work for me. These are the kind of contextual information I should provide that work for me. So yes, spending more time is important. The last thing which I would like to mention is that the GPT responses are probabilistic because these models are there are different versions uh, uh, within the same model. These versions are trained with different sets of data, which may or may not be exactly the same between you and me. Uh, and the context in which you are using would be slightly different. The manner in which you have been interacting or the prompt which you will ask would be slightly different from the prompt which I would ask. And therefore, the answers which you will get are not exactly uh, deterministic. So they are not exactly the same all the time. Uh, and therefore, as an individual, yes, you can get to a stage of equilibrium where you know that what kind of prompt and what kind of questions give you what kind of answers. But as an organization, it is difficult. So two different people in the same organization may get slightly different answers. And as an organization, if you want to develop some accuracy as well as consistency in the kind of answers you're getting from GPTs, then you need to set up a baseline. So you need to have a body of knowledge which you will provide as a context to these large language models. And you will have to make sure that all the employees within the organization are using the GPTs within the context of that body of knowledge which has already been provided. And once you do that, then yes, there's a certain level of consistency and accuracy which is required at an organization level can be achieved. So yes, using GPTs as an individual and using GPT as an organization may have some nuances which one has to be aware of. So yes, with that, I would close my session for today and happy to take any questions. But again, as I said, this is not a one-off. We would probably do this once every month, and we would try to come up with new use cases, new ideas. And if you have any specific suggestions which you would like to see in the subsequent session, please let us know, and we'll be happy to incorporate that. Thanks. Shivam, do you have any questions which I can answer?
Saurabh, there is one question from Maria, if you can look into it.
Yes, regarding first case study, does it have to find one specific answer and question when you use it like a chatbot, or it could fill in all the missing HS codes in one column, for example, for the whole table based? Yes, yes. So yeah, as I was saying that the example which we took was a very interactive example where we were looking for a specific commodity and asking for the HS code of it. In theory, yes, let's say that you have 1,000 declarations to be done today, and you have prepared an Excel sheet where the goods description is given in column one, and you want the column two to be filled with the exact HS code. So yes, in theory, you can upload that Excel sheet into ChatGPT, and you can ask it to fill the column two with the right commodity description, the HS code. You will then get a link saying that the job has been done. You can download the Excel from this link, and you can click on it and you can download the Excel, which will give you the filled HS code in column 2 for all the commodity description in column 1. Having said that, it is very likely that many of those commodity codes will be incorrect if you use this very simple technique. So you'll have to give a lot of prompting before you start doing that. So you'll have, and the best way of doing it is that you first upload a small Excel sheet with say 5 commodity codes, and you will upload it. You will get an output. Out of those 5, you will see 3 are incorrect. You will then, you should then try to figure out why they are incorrect. And you should ask ChatGPT that question, that why do you provide incorrect HS code for these 3 commodity codes? Understand the reason why the codes were incorrect, then guide GPT in how they can correct that code, and then use that interactive session, like I would say 3 or 4 times, to come up with a few rules which you can provide to ChatGPT, saying that these are the rules which you should follow. And then after that, if you upload an Excel with even 1,000 codes in it, I would say 98, 99% it should be correct if the initial prompting has been correct. So yes, in theory it can be done, but it all depends on how you interact with the GPT. How do you learn from the mistakes the GPT is making, and how do you then ask GPT to stop making those mistakes? So it's a learning exercise, and of course, it can be done. So yeah, I don't think any other question. There's some questions in the chat, I think. Well, not sure this is cost effective, like through app API request is built, so making AI shared and passing my responsibility, a couple of API requests and call, and each request comes request. Yes, so the costing element is a big concern. Right now, if you are using OpenAI APIs, the cost is very reasonable. I would say for one HS code classification, the cost would be maybe less than a cent as of today. If we are using the APIs to do what we did in an interactive fashion. But the cost can balloon up pretty quickly. And then we are also dependent on Microsoft, which is the owner of OpenAI. They can increase the price at any point of time. And therefore, it is important to develop some redundancy in these kind of programs if you are developing internally. I would say it would make sense that any program which you are developing internally, they should have OpenAI, of course, but they should also have at least one free model inbuilt into it. And there are several free models available these days. Not to say that those free models would not become commercial tomorrow, but at least they're free for now. So I would strongly suggest that if you're trying to develop something internally using APIs, always use both OpenAI API as well as one of these free models into your development consideration, so that tomorrow if the prices of OpenAI goes up, you can still rely on the free model. So yeah, I don't see any further questions now, but what we will do is that in the subsequent session, we will go deeper into these use cases, and we'll try to come up with a use case which is slightly more software engineering oriented. And then we will go into the details of how you can use the APIs and what are then the design considerations and the cost and efficiency and scalability considerations when one is using APIs.
Saurabh, there is one last question from Maria, if you can take that one.
Sure. Regarding first case study, does it? Yes, it's the same question.
It's the one above it. One above it. Sorry.
Oh, how can it optimize routes, reduce costs in logistics, for example? Do you have such cases in working with the client? So yes, so this is a great question, and this is a question which is slightly moving into the adjacency of the core competency of OpenAI or large language models. LLMs by definition are trained on text. So any kind of question which is related to text is very easy for them to answer. But once you start moving from text to logic, to maps, to other dimensions, not to say that it is not possible. It is definitely possible. For example, ChatGPT can solve maths. Now it was not designed to solve maths, but because maths has adjacencies to language. So because any mathematical problem has to first be posed as a language problem. You have to describe the problem in English. And therefore, ChatGPT was smart enough and it learned on its own to start solving mathematical questions as long as they can be described very well in English or for that matter in any other language. So the same thing is applicable for optimizing routes and costs in logistics. As long as the problem can be described in English or in language, and the parameters which you need to be solved can also be provided in a language manner, then it is very much possible to get optimization done for route optimization and cost optimization, etc., etc. Again, it's a bit of a prompt engineering. It's a bit of representing these kind of questions in a language format, and also getting the output from ChatGPT, which can then be imported into other uh, specific tools, which will convert it from a language to say a map, which you can easily understand and take actions on. So yes, it is definitely possible, but it depends on case to case. Again, Maria, I'm happy to chat with you on a one-on-one basis, and we can take you through some of the use cases where we have actually used it for supply chain optimization. Great. Any other questions, suggestions? Yeah, so we are happy to share this presentation with you. So yeah, Shivam will circulate the presentation to everyone, and please feel free to circulate it within your organization or within your network.
And there's another one from Maria, Saurabh.
Okay. Last one, WMS and inventory management in warehouses from a PDF is the same thing. How does it work? Yeah, so warehouse management system and inventory management system is something which is inbuilt into our other applications. Flow, which is a full end-to-end ERP solution. We have the inventory management and warehouse management systems over there. There's a slight difference between these two. Warehouse management system is more about where how the goods are brought into the warehouse, what kind of quality testing, if any, would be done to them, what are the specific locations where they would be stored, how would you do the picking of those items either for dispatch or for further processing. If some of those items are getting redundant and you need to destroy them, how would you apply that process, etc., etc. So that is all about warehouse management system, which is very, I would say, location driven. And then inventory management system is slightly broader. Inventory management system looks at all the available inventories to an organization across multiple locations. Inventory by definition is not necessarily stored in your own warehouse, even if it is stored in a third-party warehouse or it is stored with the supplier and you have already paid for it, then it is your inventory technically. So inventory management system is more about what is available for you to sell as of today, irrespective of whether it is stored in your own warehouses or third-party warehouses, or it is still lying with your supplier, or maybe it is en route in a ship. So yeah, whatever is available for you to sell is the crux of a good inventory management system, which you can then look at and decide what to sell, when and where to your customers and meet their requirements. So again, happy to go into more details about WMS and inventory management system and the differences between the two in a separate session. But more importantly, how that can be optimized by using LLMs and GPTs. Great. If there's no more question, then probably we can wrap up this session. Back to you, Neil.
Yeah, thanks, Saurabh. That was great. As I said, this has been covered in the chat and before. Then we'll happily share the content with you afterwards. And as I said, we're an open forum, so do come back to us with any thoughts or ideas that would be helpful for you to learn more about. And obviously, if we can try and help you with that, we'll look to put some presentation and some contents together. So a few of the people on the call I know we've had some contact with already, so look forward to checking in again. But it's been great to have you all here. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your morning to join us for an hour, and we look forward to hearing from you again. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers then. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Cheers. Bye-bye.